Actually, I might.
Yo, I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm in awe. I'm Derek Lance.
This is Screenplay Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week. Go over the horror news, and I turn into the bad guy during our intros for no reason at all. What are you guys doing this morning, this night, this evening, whatever time it is?
Doing good. No complaints. Got to watch a Tom Atkins movie tonight.
Yeah, exactly. There's worse things that can happen in life.
Yeah, I finished all of the projects that I had set for the weekend. So
Nice.
let me rephrase that. I finished all of the projects my wife set for me this weekend. So there's that.
I see.
Do you feel
That's
accomplished?
good.
Yeah, they weren't bad. We cleaned up our pumpkins from Halloween, threw those away. We got Christmas lights up on the outside of the house. And all kinds of stuff. So
Dang, that was all the stuff I was supposed to do today.
Yeah.
Did you do
I didn't
them?
do,
Nope.
I didn't do
Didn't
any
do
of
any
that
of it.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It is important to get your to-do list done. But what's more important is joining us here tonight to talk about tonight's movie, which is the 1988 Bill Lustig movie, produced and written by Larry Cohen, starring Bruce Campbell and Tom Atkins, which is Maniac Cop. So I'm sure we have a lot to say about Maniac Cop. It is a film that came out in 1988, so we will talk about it. It's one of the it's of all the films that were made, it's one of them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's fair.
So let's we'll dive into that. But first, I want to hit up some horror news. Don't have a lot because we're on a short week, but here's what we got. We have a first look at Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. We have a look inside his laboratory. You guys want to see it?
Yes, please.
Of course you do. Here it is.
Oh.
Right?
It looks like a video game.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, you can see the movie equipment and such. Looks good. That's a hell of a set. Look at that set.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It does look pretty cool.
So the plot to this is Gothic romance was born partially out of the fascination with ruins, he says. Sometimes there's more beauty than the building complete because it's a clash of creation and destruction. This is what Del Toro tells Vanity Fair about the preview of this thing. So it's going to be out sometime in 2025, and it will be a theatrical release. It stars Jacob Elordi will be playing the Frankenstein monster, and it also stars Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, and Oscar Isaac. So we're definitely there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're there anyway. It's Guillermo, but with that cast on top of it, we're like, okay, just take our money.
That's a good cast for sure.
We also are getting some updates on the sequel to Megan. Megan 2.0 is coming out June 27th, 2025. So that is a thing that's happening. What do you guys think about the return of Megan?
I haven't seen the first one, so I don't really know what to say.
I was just about to ask if we have done that on the podcast yet.
We have not. No,
we have not.
Yeah, that answered my question. If Derek hasn't seen it,
yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's well, I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, I'm excited to see the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was horrible. It didn't break any new ground, but it's fine. It was enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
But let me tell you what movie is going to break new ground, guys. I can tell you what movie is going to break new ground. And this is a movie that is coming out in the near future. It is called Popeye the Slayer Man.
Oh, I saw this.
Look at this.
Oh, I saw it, man.
Oh no.
Guys, what are you thinking there, Lydia? What are you thinking of this? Besides, of
well,
course, go ahead.
Besides, it looks terrible.
Yes, besides that.
Looks terrible. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, it looks pretty awful. Yes. Derek,
It does
did
look
you
bad.
watch that trailer?
No, I saw the article and I saw the picture. I did not watch anything.
That's going to be one that Derek's going to pick somewhere down the line in the future. I know it.
Yeah.
These public domain horror movies just need to stop already. They just started, and they already need to stop.
Yep. And they're not
Hey,
gonna
I'm here
either.
for it,
That's the
man.
worst
You know
part.
what? This gives me that element of surprise on this podcast. When can I ruin your guys' day?
You mean
I have
besides
those
showing up?
aces in my pocket.
That's
Really?
that's why we have to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because you never know. I mean, he picked Maniac Cop this week. He was going to do Pooh, Blood, and Honey too. So
That's true.
dodge that bullet.
We must have been good last week, so he wasn't too
Well,
mean.
I think he was thinking. Well, here's what it was. I think he was thinking about the fact that he had to do a quick turnaround to watch it, and he's like, "I really don't fucking want to watch that.
Right.
I would rather watch another one. Let's do this one." And that's actually all I have for the horror news, guys. Not a lot's happened. So, here we are. It's time to talk about Maniac Cop. So picture it. It's 1988. You know what movie came out the year prior and is now a classic film? Anyone?
Kindergarten Cop?
Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is the correct answer.
Okay. Yeah.
So Evil Dead 2, Bruce Campbell is now a recognizable name in horror. And this, surprisingly enough, is his first film not directed by Sam Raimi. So this is like his first moving on to, being a professional actor kind of thing. Because every other film he made prior to this, Evil Dead, Crime Wave, and Evil Dead 2 were all Sam Raimi joints. So this was the first non-Sam Raimi film of his career. So Lydia, have you ever seen Maniac Cop before? Have you ever
Nope.
heard of Maniac Cop before?
Yes, I have heard of it.
Okay.
Never watched it. Never had the opportunity, I think. It never came up.
Yeah. Derek, you picked this.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've seen this when we were kids, I'm assuming, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, early 90s, probably. I haven't seen this thing in, gosh. How old am I? Probably 30 years. I haven't seen this movie in 30 years.
No, it's yeah. It's been about that for me too. It's been about that long. The last time I think I remember seeing this was around that time as well. Because it used to be on like HBO or the movie channel or Stars. It was on one of those like premium channels. I think it was HBO. But this used to be on all the time.
Or Showtime.
Yes. This used to be on all the time. This and its sequels were all like in the early 90s. They were on all the time. Like I remember I would flip through and Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Honor would be on. I'm like, fucking this movie. I've seen those movies more than this one because it just never stopped airing. It was just on all the time. So this is one of those movies that I remember from then, but I hadn't seen it since then. So it was almost like a new watch for me. I knew the basic beats. I knew obviously who the Maniac Cop was. I knew like kind of the ending and such, but like getting there was I like there's a lot I forgot about this movie. And one of the things that I forgot about, I mean, I mentioned at the top, is it's a Larry Cohen movie. And if you don't watch enough Larry Cohen movies, you just forget how Larry Cohen writes. And then you watch this movie and you're like, oh yeah, this is a fucking Larry Cohen movie where characters just say things. And you don't know how they know these things. They just say them, and you're like, okay, they know these. They know this beat now. We weren't privy to this, but okay. So where do you guys want to start with Maniac Cop?
Dude, we got to start with the beginning. And I usually say that just to be like, no, this time, man, that opening was fucking terrible. That opening. So where it would have not have been bad, but man, like he's putting on his vest and then freeze for like 2 or 3 seconds.
So the freezing stuff, yeah. So I agree that the freezing, but I thought that it's actually a pretty effective opening because I thought the music was good. I thought the music choice was good, and I liked him just putting on his uniform. It kind of set like a somber tone, and which is funny because the rest of the movie does not fucking have that. But I was like, okay, but the freezing, I do agree that the freezing, because it would freeze. I thought my stream was buffering the first couple times it did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was
really
like,
takes you out of it, yeah.
That's I was like, no, and this would have
just
been a choice.
A constant, like him just getting dressed. It would have been perfectly fine, but man, that freezing, you're exactly right. The first time I was like, is this part of the film or is there something wrong?
You know, I do like immediately the way I do like the way the opening is shot because I like the cinematography of it. I like the lighting of it because that's what I'm saying. It's like I think that's the best shot sequence of the movie. To be honest, it looks really good. I was like, okay, you know, I remember, you know, it's the music's pretty good because here's the thing, the music just gets bad after the opening. The music is terrible in this movie, you guys. It's terrible.
Yeah, but I love it. I really do.
So, Derek, I know that you're not just talking about the credits, but are you talking about the actual opening as well? Do you think it's terrible?
No, the actual opening of him getting dressed is pretty bad, and then it goes into the lady on the street who starts to get mugged, right?
Yes, and I mean, I don't think it's very
kicks
good.
Some ass, man. I mean, she kicks some ass.
She does, but there's some terrible like the performances aren't great, but that's what it is. But it's this terrible like it's like they don't have quite the steady cam for her to run. So she's doing this on those angle shots of her, and I'm like, that's taking me out of it. That's not very good. Don't like that. But he does look cool when we come across the Maniac cop. He's just kind of standing there. We can't see him, all that stuff. He looks pretty cool. Looks okay.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how they lit him where you couldn't really see his face, and you're like it's kind of like you don't know what you're looking at or who you're looking at or what's going on.
So here's what's funny is they do a really good job of hiding his face through most of the movie and wait for the reveal. And then the reveal happens and his face fucking sucks.
100%, man. I was going to wait until we got there, but I was like, man, that was a terrible, terrible reveal.
Yeah.
Because it was like I could have probably done a better job.
It's a terrible
I'm really
makeup.
good at stick figures.
Yeah. It's a terrible makeup. Lydia, what do you think of Maniac Cop's makeup?
I guess I don't know. I guess I didn't really think too much of it just because what this movie is.
Oh yeah.
That I was just like, you know, I was just I guess more thinking of the actor and like I'm like that guy's got a face, doesn't he?
He's definitely got a face. He's got a face. That's that's Robert Zadar, who's in tons of like freaking B movies.
Yeah.
Of course, he's in this. What is it? Freaking tons of Mystery Science Theater movies as well.
Yep.
He's in Tango and Cash, wasn't
he? He is. He's in. What can I think of it? The freaking samurai movie, the terrible one. He's in that one.
I know. I was trying to think of it earlier too. I should have looked it up.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I'll find it right now. What it is called? because it's a Samurai Cop. That's the movie.
Samurai Cop, of course.
He's in
Maniac
Samurai Cop.
and Samurai Cop.
He's a villain in that. He's in Pocket Ninjas, Derek. He's in Pocket Ninjas.
Dude, I'm trying to remember. We watched Pocket Ninjas, didn't we?
With Jimmy, and Jimmy ended up buying it on DVD because it was so terrible.
Like one does.
Yes. But yeah, so Robert Zadar has like a face. He's got like a giant like jawline.
Jaw and chin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he could take a side of beef off with that thing. He's got a huge chin. But yeah, his makeup design is definitely disappointing after we see him get slashed and everything. You're like, oh, we're gonna get a cool, and it's just like a cut here, and you're like, that's what we're waiting for.
There's this piece that's like both sides of his
on
face
the nose
are done differently. Where like this side looks like it's been like folded over. It kind of reminds me of like a Twilight Zone episode.
Mm-hmm. like the ones with the beauty in the eye of the beholder.
Yes. Like the skin is just kind of like folded instead of scarred,
Yeah.
Really strange. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is like his hand. So there's a shot after he takes that glove off, and the first time you see his hand looks so fucking good. And then you get to the end of it, and it's just like painted white. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look anything like it did because it looked so cool. You're just like, oh man, looks terrible.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, this movie is a Larry Cohen script, so it has some distinct Larry Cohen line markers. Larry Cohen was famously said that his scripts are actor proof, like that. Anybody can do them. Anybody can, he writes them so anybody can do them. Bruce Campbell argues that that's not the case. That they're not actor proof. That it's just not good writing. Because here's kind of a test you can do. If you take some lines from the script and you mark out the names, you wouldn't be able to tell who was saying what. So they all kind of just expout exposition almost. But the plot to this is kind of the pacing and plot is really weird in this movie because we get that opening kill, then we pretty much immediately get followed by another kill with the dude going to the couple drinking, and I love that he just follows him without question, and then he just points to where he's supposed to stand. And he pulls out his knife. You're like, what the fuck? So he kills that guy, slices that guy's throat. And that's when we're introduced to Tom Atkins finally, because he's doing like the autopsy of the woman. And he's like, yeah, for some reason, it's like, I used to frequent her bar. You're like, what? Okay. But he's so good that you kind of just believe it. You're like, yeah, okay. And this is what's weird. It almost feels like Tom Atkins just had to dip out early. He's just like, I can only stay for this many days. And then like, well, what should we do with him? I guess we'll just throw him out of a window. Because he's clearly the lead of the movie for the first 2/3 of it almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's clearly the lead. He's the detective. And he's like the one that's breaking this case. He's like, it's definitely a cop. And then like what I was saying, like just characters know things for some reason that they don't. So once we're introduced to Bruce Campbell's character. So Tom Atkins' character's name is Lieutenant Frank McRae. And then Bruce Campbell is Jack Forrest. So we're introduced to Bruce's character, Jack. He's like, we find out he and his wife are having some marital troubles, that there's some, they're on the rocks, and he goes out on the thing, and then he's just receiving phone calls from, like, he leaves, he leaves and it turns into like when a stranger calls, we get like a dramatic push in on the phone. And I'm like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. I have a lot of things to say about this scene, honestly. I have a lot of things
Go
to say
ahead.
about this whole movie, but this scene specifically sets up Bruce Campbell to be the maniac. And I mean, it obviously it kind of like throws you a little bit, but like the way it like does not show his face at first, and it just shows her, and it shows her being really scared of him. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a baby crying in the background of this scene. Like they have a child together.
But it's never mentioned.
Yeah, maybe it's in the. I didn't notice that, but it could be like
maybe.
I went back and rewound it because, like, literally, I watched the whole movie and then went back and rewound. Like, was there a baby crying in that? And there totally is, because I'm like, why? Like, he just, he does not care at all about that baby.
Yeah, it doesn't show it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's never mentioned. I think it's just a Foley they add to the chaos, because none of the characters mention a baby. We never see a baby. We never see a crib or anything.
She just leaves.
She just leaves.
The baby.
She leaves and he leaves and never returns.
Yeah, so obviously there's probably not a baby, just a Foley deal. But what's weird is, yes, I mean, that's the point, is to set us up like this is going to be, the Maniac, except we know it's not going to be, because we see it's Bruce Campbell, and we're like, well, clearly he doesn't fit the profile of guy with giant hands and all this stuff. But we get kind of like that, we follow him and he goes to that hotel and he's not the Maniac cop. He's just having sex with somebody, which of course he is with his police, a fellow police officer. They're having an affair. And then the wife is already crazy, but then she like just pulls out the gun and she's like, and then runs away. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And of course she's kidnapped by the Maniac cop and murdered. But after that murder happens, after we find out that she's dead, and the terrible lieutenant or the terrible captain comes to talk to him, and it's just like okay, we can see how this is set up to look like you did it. I guess if you're a terrible police officer, you don't do any follow through. I understand how that would look that way. But the best is the following scene. We see Jack in the interrogation room with McCrae and the captain, and they're both like kind of grilling him, right? And neither of them are believing what he has to say. He's like, I know people, look, blah, 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 blah. I didn't do it, blah, blah. And then the lawyer comes in. He's like, there's a woman, I can, if we'll give it to the end of the week. If they don't find the killer, then I'll have her come forward, blah, blah, all that stuff. But then so in that scene, they're both being hostile to him because they both think he did it. Then in the very next scene, Tom Atkins and the guy are sitting at a bar, and Tom Atkins is like, no, he didn't do it. He's being set up. And you're like, what the? How did you get this information? Because then he just starts spouting, yeah, X, Y, and Z. He didn't do it because of this stuff. And you're like, when did this change? It literally just, we went from one scene where you were like, definitely the killer. Yeah. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just, like, he knows all. Like, every single time anything happens, he just, like, knows the correct answer.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Nope. That too.
It makes sense, though.
It was too intuitive. Like how he's connecting dots that you wouldn't have expected him to. Like we're missing something if he's put it together.
Yes.
Yeah. I think maybe it has a lot to do with like the fact that he knew that first girl that got murdered and was like, there's no way that those guys could have done it, and there's probably no way that this guy could have done it, so it has to be someone, there has to be some other explanation for all this.
Well, that would have been good if he said that, but that's not what he says. He said, he starts talking about like how he has an alibi, like, oh, well, they were having marital troubles, this happened, he was definitely seeing somebody, and you're like, how do you know that? Because you don't find out that he's seeing somebody till the very next scene when you visit him in jail, and he says, and he tells you that he's sleeping with this officer, and he's like, "Oh, Mazel Tov." Tom Atkins is like, "I'm no stranger to sleeping with all the women."
Yeah, yeah. He's like, that's usually my role in these movies.
Yeah, so this is where I think it's weird. This is where I think it's weird because, so we get like the whole kind of thing with Tom Atkins, right? So like he goes in and visits the woman with the leg brace, and which I've got a lot to say about because how she was working for the police department is fucking baffling. Baffling.
Why? She's in records.
No, it's not, because it's baffling that they didn't say, "Oh, how did nobody know that she that she was dating fucking Matt Cordell?" The one guy knew that he's like, "Oh, she's a pretty thing, blah blah." How did you not? Or she wasn't much to look at, but blah blah blah. She was nice.
Yeah.
How do you not realize that's the fucking woman down the hall from you? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about?
I kind of missed like why Matt Cordell got put in prison.
Because he was murdering people.
Yeah.
No.
He was, because they mentioned it. He was a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. So
okay,
he was,
yeah, I guess,
essentially police abuse. I mean, he was a bad police officer.
Here's the thing. The way the movie frames it is that he was put in there by corrupt politicians.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, but he did those things. But he only killed bad people, is what the kind of the movie is trying to tell us. He only, stepped on the constitutional rights of murderers and drug dealers and pushers. And that's okay. By the way, it's not. Not everybody has constitutional rights in this country. FYI.
Some have more.
Yeah, apparently. If you have money, you have more. But yeah, it's like, so that's why ostensibly is because he was, brutal. And then I guess maybe they did it to like, I guess the only way I can think is that they did it for his, to cover their own asses. And so he was put in Sing Sing and then killed, but lived, which is confusing, especially when you start to see the sequels. And the fact that she shoots him like 1 billion times and he just survives.
Yeah, he's invincible somehow. That's another really confusing thing. You're like, he must be like undead.
Yeah, and in the sequels, he is undead.
Okay, good.
Well,
but
that
in this one,
me off because, like I said, I hadn't seen this in like 30 years, so I thought he was dead. I'm actually remembering a lot of it was the second one.
Yeah.
Was what I was remembering.
Yeah, so it's very strange.
Yeah.
But when he goes to the records department and he's, tells that, basically plants a seed that she was attacked because, the girlfriend, what's her name? So I don't just keep calling her that. Teresa Mallory. So Mallory was attacked by the Maniac cop, and that's where he gets shot a bunch of times. Yeah. Which, by the way, do not love that scene, the way that's shot. Don't like that very much. Like every time he gets shot, it's just a close up of the same.
Yeah.
Like, but that's fine. But again, they both shoot him. He survives. He has her hide away in his apartment so he can keep her safe. And then when I do like the scene where he follows her into the junkyard or the pier. The pier basically is where it is. Where I like Tom Atkins' part of that because their part is deadly.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this bit?
Yeah, you know,
Neither of you say anything.
around the same thing. Because she's just like, yeah, you can't you can't kill him. You can't keep killing innocent people and all this stuff. Trying to plead with
Yeah,
him, and he's just like
yeah,
not saying anything. I think he's a mute. That must
yeah,
be the undead part of him.
yeah. Well, because they say in the movie that he has to have severe brain damage, but I was like, severe. What is he, fucking Renard? Like Renard would die if you shot his ass. He just wouldn't feel it from The World's Not Enough. But it's like, okay, sure. But that scene, I like Tom Atkins sneaking through and stuff. I think that stuff's cool. You're like, oh yeah, Tom Atkins looks great. And especially when the guard jumps out at him and he pulls his gun on him and, said, I'm trying to take a leak. And you're like, oh, sure.
There's a 7-Eleven over here,
excuse.
but I would rather piss in the pier yard or whatever.
Yeah. Be careful. There's some fallen timbers down there. Okay. That's called foreshadowing, folks. And it's about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. Which gets us to the interrogation scene, part 2, where they go and visit Jack to say, hey, we know who the killer is. It's Matt Cordell. And he's going to be coming, or we're going to try to find him and all this stuff. And I'm going to go make a phone call. You guys stay here for a little bit. And that's when we get Tom Atkins just leaves the picture. Basically, he goes to the records room and to confront the woman, and she is, she attacks him. And then she gets fucked up by the Maniac cop, because she says, he's of no use to me. I'm of no use to him now. I'm of no use. And then he kills her. And then he just throws Tom Atkins around and throws him out the window. And that's last we see him. He dies at that point.
I was so confused about that. I was like, was that supposed to be... I thought it was supposed to be like Bruce Campbell's character. And then I was like, no, wait, he's right here now. And I was like, who did they throw out the window? I was like, it must have been nobody. And then they're like, he looks at him, and I was like, that is Tom Atkins' character.
It's very poorly edited, this whole sequence.
Yeah, it's sudden. It's very poorly edited because I literally did not know who it was. I thought it was some random guard or something, or whoever else was there getting murdered. But yeah, I was really confused about that, and then I was just shocked that they literally just were done with that. Like they did not. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He had to have said, I gotta go home, guys. Can we just wrap something? Like, just kill I know my character's in the rest of the film, but they just cut it out here.
It's very strange.
So so here's the thing. Bruce Campbell basically becomes our lead at that point, but really the lead is Mallory at that point. So we've been with her just as long, but even longer, because all of Bruce's scenes were literally in the jail, sitting there. And then they escape, and it is like just the most boring escape possible, but they get out, of the jail. What do you guys think of that whole sequence, just as a whole? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Dude, this is hilarious. Because whenever Bruce Campbell is like breaking out of the jail, he like makes those 2 police officers get down and be like, I didn't do it. And then when they leave, he's like, are we gonna go after him? He said he didn't do it.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I do like that. They said he didn't do it.
I'm not going to go after him.
Yeah.
Oh
if
my
he's
god.
People's heads off. Fuck that. But yeah, so But then we get, in my opinion, the worst stretch of the movie, which is up to the third act. But because it just becomes worse after Tom Atkins exits the picture. But man, that ADR of them in this train is so funny. Well, we're going to keep McCrae's appointments. Why are we going to... You're just really going to go into Sing Sing prison even when you're wanted? Yeah, if I don't find the real guy, they're going to have my ass. It's just all ADR. And they didn't shoot anything in the actual... They just show like stock footage of the train. The Sing Sing scene is wild, guys. When he goes and visits, when they go to the doctor and talk to the doctor. This is what I'm saying. This is the Larry Cohenism. Because none of this makes sense, guys. None of it. I mean, so the doctor gives us we get the backstory of Cordell being, because we get like from his perspective, he's laying in the junkyard. We get a really great shot of just his eyes lit. And we hear we see like the flashback of him fighting in the shower, which is, I've got to say, really funny. Ooh, it's like that slow motion. Ooh, all that stuff. But we get that whole scene. And then they're talking to the doctor, and he's like, telling him, so he left in a wood box, just like everybody else. Let me get my file. There was a woman that I released his body to. And then they're just like, yeah, but here's what we know. We know that he was still alive, and you faked it.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you know that? Well, how did I, he still had a pulse. So I couldn't just let him go back into the jail. They would have killed him. If he had severe brain damage, like you said he would not go back to prison.
No, yeah. Good point. Good point.
At all. So anyway, that's the story. He just sneaks him out of jail and pretends like he's dead, I guess. Just gives this that's not how this works. There are like a lot of steps in between there, but that's fine. Whatever. We'll just go with it because it's a movie. We're having fun. It's fine. But here's what really annoys me, guys. Here's what makes no sense. After they accuse him of it and basically admits to it, he says, and that's when he's like, now I need to see your identification. And he's like, oh, well, I'm actually not him. He's dead. And he's like, yeah, I see your face in this newspaper. How are you breaking into Sing Sing? And then he says, you know what? I'm not going to make any phone calls. I'm not even going to tell anybody that you were here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. My jaw dropped when he said that. I was like, you just admitted to something. Like, you can't just let them go. They're going to tell everybody.
Yeah. He's like, this meeting never happened. Like, okay, you're just waving it away with your wizard powers? What are we talking about?
Yeah. It's like they might have broken in here and you're like saying you're not going to tell anybody about that. But like, you just are the one that admitted to like doing something actually that was probably going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, you know what else would get him in trouble? Aiding and abetting a fugitive, which is what he's doing if he just lets him go.
Yes. That's hilarious.
What'd you think of that scene, Derek?
I mean, it was ridiculous, for sure. And the only thing I can really rationalize is that maybe like he felt guilty, so he wanted to get caught. I don't know, but yeah, him wishing that it didn't happen just is the worst thing that you could do in that situation.
Apparently it's the best because they just they just leave right out of the prison. Nobody knows. Nobody had luckily read the newspaper that day. Nobody in the entire prison had read the newspaper and realized, hey, you know what? That looks just
You look
like
a lot like
Jack.
this bad guy.
You look just like Jack Forrest, who is the Maniac cop, I hear, and has murdered tons of people. So then their plan is to go to the police chief because they're like, well, the police chief is the one that was in on it for some reason. And we've got to tell him, maybe he'll listen to us once we tell him that the Maniac cop's still alive. It's Matt Cordell or whatever. And what ensues is literally the most pointless of the scenes, I think. When she goes into the police station and he just stands in the middle of the fucking street, out in the open, across the street from the police station, while a St. Patrick's parade is like happening in the vicinity somewhere. What do you guys think of this whole sequence where she's attacked by the Maniac cop after he murders the people, the police chief and the captain?
How did he get in there?
I don't know.
He just walked in the front door. He has a police uniform on. Fuck his face.
He's like, that looks about right. He's had a rough night.
He's a ghost.
I mean, you're.
It just makes no sense.
Kind of,
right?
it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of ludicrous, to be honest with you. But what are you going to do?
Exactly. What are you going to do? Oh, hang on a
I'm
sec,
sure
guys.
on the day.
Yep, you're good. I'm just, putting this back together. Not a big deal.
Are you getting attacked by the Maniac cop, Jamie?
No, I got attacked by something worse. A text message, apparently. I don't know. Shut off my fucking camera for a second.
Your gimbal?
No, it messed up my camera, disconnected. So I had to fix it, and then it reconnected, and then my gimbal's good to go again. Oh, man, that's...
What was I saying?
Hang on one quick second.
Was,
Give me one quick second. Sorry, Derek.
Sure.
There we go. Wasn't balanced quite right, so the gimbal was getting kind of hot there. There we go. All right. Anyway, sorry about that. Let me make sure that this is still recording on the... Yep, we're good. Okay. Derek, what were you saying?
He walked in the front door.
Yeah, breaking through the police station.
Oh yeah, just
like,
I don't know.
So this whole scene, like, she breaks in, or we get that one fucking cop and I thought for sure he was gonna try to have sex with her. Like, I thought that's what we were setting up.
He's
the guy who was left behind. The guy that was left behind to arrest her. Oh yeah, he definitely was.
Well, a little bit, yeah, but then he changes it to, hey, you know what? You should cut me in on this whole Maniac cop thing. This is a big collar. I'd like to get this collar. And you're like, what? And then, well, I guess I'm just going to cuff you. But I'm not going to handcuff you regularly. I'm going to cuff us together for some reason.
Disgusting.
Wanted to take her for a walk.
That guy's a weasel.
Definitely a weasel. He has a terrible mustache. But he gets killed, and then she has to drag his body. It was very shades of Jake, from Evil Dead 2. Just not as good.
Yeah.
She had a little bit of shades of Jake there. Which, speaking of which, by the way, we can't let this segment pass without mentioning the Sam Raimi cameo.
Yes.
I didn't even catch it.
He's the newscaster. He's the newscaster at the parade.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was laying down and with my phone like this, watching the movie. So
Derek,
maybe it was the angle.
Derek, what color was this movie?
Lydia.
So here's so that's great that Sam's in there. Also, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Delta is in this movie as well.
The who?
The Delta, the '88 Oldsmobile from Evil Dead.
I was wondering that.
I think the car that the couple are driving is the Delta.
It's a yellow car for sure.
It is, and I'm wanting to say that it was the was the Delta. I don't know if it is or not, but it kind of looked like it. So I was like,
I thought the same thing. After seeing Sam Raimi specifically, I saw that car.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Once I saw Sam, I was like, maybe that was the Delta, because he's definitely involved in this. He's in a scene. But guys, this third act. So she escapes through the window, is crawling across the top, and then the maniac. So the cops miraculously, I don't know how they did it, but they found Jack standing in the middle of the fucking road. And actually do some police work and arrest him. So he gets arrested.
Beat him up pretty good.
And they just throw him in the back of a paddy wagon, but they're at City Hall. Whatever. They throw him in the back of a paddy wagon, and then the Maniac cop steals it for some reason, ostensibly maybe to escape. But he steals it, and then we get a chase scene. What do you guys think of the chase scene?
Love it.
The chase scene was pretty good.
It's decent, right, for the money they had and what they were doing. Yeah.
It's terrible, but I love it.
The
It's so good.
chase scene was really terrible, but
Oh, we'll get to that. But the chase itself is not terrible. I mean, I think it might be the most competent scene in the movie. Even if it is just kind of the same thing over and over, them driving and jumping hills a bunch of times.
Yeah, they were definitely waiting for this scene when they were filming. They were like, we got to do this big.
Yeah, this got to be big. We're going to save all our money for this scene. So I'm sorry, unfortunately, Tom Atkins, you got to leave early.
Yeah. I feel like this was just like how you had to make a movie back then too. Like so many movies of this era have this like
Car
exact
chase.
same chase scene with the van and the pier.
Yeah. So the actual ending of this movie, guys, is fucking terrible, I think. Sucks ass. What do you guys think?
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So like the Maniac cop is chopping the door down.
Yeah.
He Bruce jumps at him and knocks him over. And then they have like a little tussle. He just throws him around. And then she shows up with another cop, and the Maniac cop shoots him immediately. And then
blasts him like 100 feet away.
Yes, which is the greatest range of a shotgun I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
Yes, and anytime he gets hit with anything, he does not budge an inch.
So this is what makes no. So he starts to drive away, and Jack's plan is to just jump onto the side of it and pester him as he's driving. Stop! I'm trying to drive.
What else can you do?
And so he just wrecks into some one of the pier things, stabs him, and then just wrecks into the water. And why doesn't Bruce Campbell just jump off way earlier than that?
Because
he holds on. He just holds on.
Yes, my favorite part of the whole movie is him holding on to that, and then the stuntman gets to jump off of that.
Flipping off of it.
Oh, glorious.
That is terrifying, actually. I was oh,
it's so good, like though. It's so good, though. I freaking loved it.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible because there's no suspense, no stakes, nothing. And then the actual very end is beyond words terrible, where he just they pull it out, and then it's just they're standing there at the wreckage, and they're like, and then his hand creeps up. Yeah. What do you think of this
again?
Derek?
Creature.
Yeah,
it's like Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Creature. Yeah. What do you think of that ending, Derek?
He finally makes a noise when he gets fucking impaled by that.
Oh yeah,
he's like,
that piece of wood. And then after that,
he's a soprano. We found out this whole time.
His yelling, like he lets out a yell, and it's like way too high pitched for his face.
That's why he wasn't talking. He has the Mike Tyson disorder. I got to feed Mike Tyson.
Gotta feed my kid, guys. Gotta feed my kid.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool though. He got impaled. That was like you're like, yeah.
I don't think it was kind of cool at all.
Oh, come on.
And you know how I like these movies. That did not hit for me at all. Did it for you, Derek?
No, it did not.
I
was equally as disappointed in the ending as I was the beginning.
Yeah, dude. So there's a scene we need to talk about before we start talking about anything else. That when the woman's listening to the radio and the cop stops because her car, that's the car that's the car with the classic. It's smoking and shit. And the cop goes to check on her, and her reaction is just to shoot his fucking head off. Is hilarious to me.
Dude, that was scary. That was scary. I did not like that. I was like, this is bad news.
But
People
the
are
Maniac cop's
insane.
out there, you see. Because you see, Tom Atkins obviously used to sleep with the reporter and was like, hey, I need you to do this thing for me. Report this, and I'll be a source and all this stuff. So that way they can get like the real, they know that there's a real cop that's out there killing people and for citizens to beware. But then he did what Dr. Loomis always warns us about. Put it out there. You're going to start seeing him on every street corner and backyard of every home, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened.
Definitely.
But it is
that poor
very
guy.
funny. Yep. That poor guy
Dang.
got fooked up.
Yeah.
But that's Maniac Cop, guys. What are we thinking? Good old 5 out of 10.
Fucking giving that, yeah. I hate to do it, man, because it's got 2 screen legends in it.
Yes.
But man, sometimes you just can't overcome the vision for the film.
Yeah, it's not the strongest. What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah. Are you done, Derek? Did you want to say anything more about your rating?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. I was like, that was really short.
I hope I hope the second one is better.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I forgot there was a second one. That would be fun.
There's
I didn't even know
3.
there was a third one.
There's 3. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's
3
to me on this podcast.
Yeah. It's called
Now
like
you've
Badge of
started
Honor or
something.
something like that.
It is
Yeah.
Badge of Honor. When you said that,
Yeah.
I was like, really? There's a third one? And I looked it up.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's stupid that I know that. I know it's really dumb that I know that, but I knew.
By the way, in case anybody is interested, the budget for this movie was a little over $1 million. So it was 1.1.
Yep.
And this movie definitely underperformed. It did world between the US and Canada, it didn't break $1 million. So
Yeah.
There were probably so many great movies coming out that year.
Well, it's 1988.
Yep,
there
it.
was a bunch of big movies coming out in 1988.
Yeah.
But well, go ahead, Lydia.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it. I want to give this movie such a high rating, but I don't think I can.
Hey, you do what you want to do. Don't
I'll
let us
give it-
influence you.
I'll give it a 6 because I'm being pretty generous.
That's a generous ass. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like. This is our movie, guys. Like, this is so good for our podcast. Like, it's got Tom Atkins, it's got Bruce Campbell, it's got Sam Raimi. Like, what else could we want? Like, it's so good.
A coherent story.
Yeah, like I had so much fun watching this, and like anyone who's watching this podcast, I 100% recommend, like 10 out of 10, that you should go watch this movie if you haven't seen it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give it.
Let's skip
yeah.
this one.
Yeah, so I'm about where Derek is. You know, Derek and I sometimes like see eye to eye on movies, and then sometimes we're the complete opposites. But this is one of them where we definitely see eye to eye. I'm about a 5 as well, and there's things in it that I do like. Like I think so. If we're rating it on the Atkins scale, it's like a 10 out of 10 because he is great in the scenes he's in. He's great.
So
he looks
good.
great. Sounds great. Everything about his performance is like so self-assured and cool, and you're just like, I wish he was just in the entire movie.
Yeah.
For sure. And I love Bruce
That actually
Campbell. But Bruce
brings me
Campbell's
to a question at the end. I'll let you finish
Okay.
this.
Good. I'm glad you interrupted me to tell me that you want to ask me a question after.
You're welcome.
Just kidding. But I love Bruce Campbell, of course, but his character is a nothing in this movie. Like there's no distinct personality to, you know what I mean?
He's not necessarily a good character.
No, and he's he's forgettable, and he's not very he's just not very compelling. And she's okay, but also not. She's like they set her up to be like the hottest chick in the planet. I don't know about all that, but like the fact that she's like goes undercover as hookers is interesting, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I like
she's
that.
a cop. She's a cop. This guy tries to solicit her, and then she lets him go, and I was super confused.
Well, because he didn't.
Well, but he said, "Are you a cop?" And instead of just saying, "No, I'm not a cop," what do you know?
Well, you
let's
can't.
get this going.
You
Yes,
can't
you
say
can.
that.
That is a lie. Of course you can.
Well,
That is the
in this
biggest
movie.
bullshit, by the way, everybody. If you are ever in a situation where you think that for whatever reason there might be an undercover cop and you ask them if they're a cop and they are a cop, they can 1,000,000% say, "No, I'm not a cop." What kind of rule would it be if they're like, "Yep, you got me"? That's not a thing. Not a thing. This movie plays by that logic, that fallacy.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
not real. That's a movie invention for everybody wondering.
Good to know.
So, first of all, don't commit any crimes where you need a undercover police officer. But if there's ever a situation where you think that there might be an undercover cop, let's say that you're, I don't know, pirating movies, which you should not do, or whatever you're doing, and you're selling them on the black market. Do not say, if the guy says, "I'm not a cop," and you're like, "Oh yeah, that tracks," because there's that's a false thing. Take it from me. I graduated with a criminal justice degree. But I think that he's kind of a wet blanket. She's more compelling than him, but not by much. The most compelling character in the movie is Tom Atkins, Frank McRae, and he is like eliminated 2/3 of the way through the movie, and the rest of the movie suffers horribly for it.
Yeah, agreed. Like they literally are introduced to them having an affair. In what other movie can you think of that like someone has an affair and
the
becomes
hero?
the main character? Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally both of them become the main character and hero kind of
It's
the movie.
It's kind of wild. Yeah.
It's insane.
Derek,
and his wife is murdered, baby is gone.
Derek, you're gonna ask me something.
I was gonna ask, should we recast Tom Atkins? Like, should he have been a different character in this movie?
He should have been Bruce Campbell's character.
No, because I think that I think he plays the character that he should play in this movie. Instead of recasting Tom Atkins, I would have rewrote the film for him to be in the entire thing, and he would have been our lead, throughout the rest of the movie. Because we would have saw more of him. And if you wanted Bruce Campbell to be in it too, I would have made them partners. And then I would have had them tracking down the Maniac cop.
I thought they were partners.
That would have been way better.
Partners.
Yeah.
It'd been way better. Yeah, it would have been way better if that was the case. Because then he'd be trying to clear his partner's name, and then they could team up to. What would have been cool is if Maniac Cop did siege the police station. The police station was under siege by the Maniac Cop, and they were stuck in there, and they had to fight him off. That would have been a way better finale than what we got.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just me spitballing.
Well, hey, whenever we redo this movie to make it better,
do the remake of Maniac Cop? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll include that.
Because the only thing you get is like Tom Atkins letting her into the room with him. Letting Mallory into the room with Jack, and you're just like, and then he's like, "I'm gonna leave you two alone."
Yeah.
And then they kiss, and they're like, "Thank you." It's like, what?
Dumb.
It's pretty dumb. Yeah.
If I were a cop, that's how I would do it.
You're like, well, you two are clearly madly in love, even though your wife was just murdered. I'll leave you alone.
Oh, you're gonna go to prison for a long time.
Even though your wife
was upset that his wife was murdered. He's just kissing her again. That's lame. That's lame.
It's not good. Yeah. And so I would have eliminated that entire subplot, and they would have just been detectives on the beat. They would have been trying to figure out who this is. He gets framed for it because he kind of fits the description. We could have similar things happen. This felt like a movie that needed another couple drafts.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Because William Lustig is a fine director. He's a pretty good director. This is just not his finest work, but it's not terrible either. It's watchable. It's fun if you're on a bank holiday and you're sitting at home on an afternoon and this happens to pop on. watch it. It's fun.
Hell yeah.
Right? So we're not Atkinizing because we just did. We just rewrote Tom Atkins to be in the entire movie. That's what we did.
Yes.
And all of the sequels that follow. So, guys, it is your turn to pick, Lydia.
Oh no, it's my turn to pick.
Yes.
Crap. Okay, wait. Did I have one? Let me think.
Food, Blood, and Honey 2?
No.
I was thinking that might be an option. Just throw you guys through a. No, what am I gonna pick, guys?
Well, like
Friday the 13th.
Part 5?
Are we on part 5?
We're on part 5.
All right, let's do part 5.
So, in honor of Friday the 13th, which will be when this episode airs, we will be doing Friday the 13th, part 5. A New Beginning. That's what it's called. 1985's Friday the 13th. So this one's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a lot of fun because this is different because, Jason's dead. And it may be Jason. It may be a copycat killer. We don't know. We'll find out when we review the movie. But this should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to do this. Derek, you got any stories for us? It's a shock that I ask you this.
Do you have any Maniac Cop related stories?
I actually do.
Uh-oh.
I actually do. It's for the sequel. Like, just not like a story of something cool happening, but I do remember watching the sequels, like I told you. But one of them I remember is I couldn't sleep. Like, it was one of those nights where I just could not sleep. And I had to go to school the next morning. And so I woke up and I went downstairs at my mom's house when, I got out of my room, I went downstairs, and I was in like early high school. And I turned on the TV and started flipping through the channels. It was like 4 in the morning. And fucking Maniac Cop 2 was just starting. And so I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll watch this, fall asleep. And I watched the entire fucking movie. So it got over at 5 in the morning, going on 6. We got up usually at 5:45 to go to school. So I hear Mom getting up, and I, turn off the TV and lay on the couch. And she comes downstairs, and she's like, "Is everything okay? Why are you up already?" And I was like, "Mom, I'm really not feeling good because I'm just not feeling good." And so she let me stay home from school because of Maniac Cop. I stayed home and I watched like Batman Forever and shit that day. It was great.
Nice. That's hilarious.
But yeah, that movie was on all the time.
I can't think of off the top of my head, I can't think of a day like that where I think I had perfect attendance for one. Like I never missed school. But
I didn't
occasionally, not very often that I ever missed school.
I mean, I would miss school every once in a while. There was a period where my mom would call us out because we'd be out late at one of her friends or something. That was when she was going through her divorce and stuff. There's a bunch of crazy stuff. But normally, I would go, but every once in a while I'd be like, "Oh, my stomach hurts. I don't feel good," or I just feel a little feverish. I used to have this superpower, guys, where I could make myself run a fever. Like, I didn't do the light bulb trick or anything. I would just say, I'm letting you in, guys, letting you in on some inside baseball here. So let's say that I had math class. Well, I'd have math class. Let's say I had math class. It was after lunch. And let's say that for some reason I didn't get my math homework done. Maybe because I didn't do it. And I knew that I needed to, get it done, or there was a quiz that I didn't study for, or whatever. So I needed to get out of math. I would say, I don't feel good. Kind of tell myself, I don't feel good. Hey, I need to go to the nurse. I don't feel good. And I'd just kind of mantra, and I'd start acting it. Oh, no. And then she would take my temperature, and it'd always be a little bit of a fever. Just a little bit. Enough that she's like, well, you got a fever. So want me to call your parents? Want me to call your mom? Yeah, that'd be great. So that worked like a charm when I lived with my mom. Not so much when I moved in with Dad. Because you see, he caught on. He knew. So there's one day I went home early. And I couldn't get a hold of my mom or dad, but Lori, Justin's mom, was emergency contact. So they contacted her, and she came to pick me up. And I got home, or I got to go to her house, hung out with Lori the rest of the day, got to watch Star Wars. She gave me some soup and some soda. It was a fucking lovely day. She takes me home. She takes me home. And Dad's like, oh, we're feeling good, huh? I was like, and he could tell. And I was like, no. I kind of dropped my eyes like, oh, no. I think I might be caught, but I think I could still play this off. And so he's like, oh, is that your book bag? He opens it up and sees my unfinished homework. He was like, oh, well, that's interesting. You don't feel good. Maybe you should go upstairs and lay in bed since you don't feel good. Maybe you should stay up there the rest of the night. And I'm like, he's like, maybe you should do that homework too while you're there. And I'm like, God damn it. How did he know?
Dang it.
You know how he knew?
Because he did it.
Did the exact same thing. Yep.
It's how I'm going to know all of Connor's tricks because, you know.
Oh, dude, I catch Clark all the time. He's like, how did you know that? I'm like, I can see everything.
Yeah, I
know
got
all,
eyes in the
son.
back of my head.
Yeah. I have a story kind of like that.
Okay, go ahead.
So, like Jimmy, I had an uncanny ability to vomit kind of at will. And I remember one year, I was probably in 3rd or 4th grade. I got sent home after lunch like fucking 13 times. Because I would drink my milk and be like, I don't feel good, and then I'd vomit. And then they'd send me home.
Oh my God, Derek.
I am not joking, man. I'm like 13 times, man. And my grandpa was always the one who had to come and get me.
Wow. Kids, do not skip school,
R.I.P.
by the way.
Grandpa,
Do not do it. Not skip school. It's not good. But, you know, having that skill, I don't know what use that did me. Maybe that's why I won those Best Actor awards. I just could get into it. That's why I'm a filmmaker. I just could get into it. But that'll wrap up this week's episode of Scream Bloody Movies. Maniac Cop. It's one of the movies of all time. So you check it out. Go check it out. Next week, we'll be watching Friday the 13th, Part 5, where's that streaming? I think they're all on Shudder, aren't they? Currently?
I don't know.
Let's find out. It is currently streaming on Paramount Plus, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, Amazon Prime Video. But if you're like me, you own those motherfuckers, so you never have to pay for them. Blu-ray set from Shout Factory is gorgeous. You should invest in that, everybody.
And if you're like me, you borrowed Jamie's old set of DVDs.
The old Blu-ray, the DVD set I got before I got the Blu-rays. That's what you do. I actually think those are Blu-ray too. They're just not the 4K, 2K scans that the Shout Factories are. So they're Blu-rays, but it's only the first 8 films. But that'll do it for this week. We have some big movie news coming up. We'll have all of that cast list and stuff out probably this week. So check out our Facebook page and our website at HiLaProductions.com. You'll be able to see all the goodies for the movie. It is on its way. Also below is the link to sign up for the pre-launch for our Indiegogo. So check that out as well. But for next week, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Is it the same old thing? Or is it a new beginning? It is the same old thing, by the way. It is a Friday the 13th movie, just in case you want to know. So, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.